I'm hoping you've been following along this month's vlogs and you've looked at your requirements and chosen a bookkeeping software. You've utilised a free trial to find out if that bookkeeping software is right for you. And you've really started getting stuck in and using that bookkeeping software. First, congratulations if you have taken those actions, because that's something a lot of people won't have done. They'll just be delaying until some future decision point or burying their head in the sand hoping the problem goes away, and we all know the problem doesn't go away. So what's next if you have those things sorted? Well, unfortunately, business finance has more processes than simply doing your bookkeeping. So I thought it would be useful to have a look at those associated systems and my tips around them. So the first system you're going to have to deal with, or the first process, is about paperwork, physical paperwork. And really there's not much you can do to get around with. There will always be some piece of paper, whether that's a receipt or a delivery note or something that has to be recorded. So the first and easiest thing I can say to do with physical paperwork is remember to put it in one place. Hopefully that's not your wallet, one place in your house, one place in your office, so that all your physical paperwork goes in that one spot and you know where it is. And then the second thing is set a time aside to deal with digitizing that paperwork. So digital copy is as valid as the paper copy as long as it's legible. So you can either do that, once a week, once a month, or just commit to yourself that as soon as you receive that paperwork, you're going to digitize it. And a lot of the bookkeeping softwares, if you are dealing with receipts, they have apps where you can scan them, or there are online file management systems where you can just scan it straight away. So as soon as you receive it, it only takes a moment to open the app and take a photograph, and then you have a digital copy. So the second system is inventory. Now, if you do sell products, there is so much useful information from managing and tracking your inventory. Don't just track finished stock either. You want to be tracking those supplies, both supplies that you use in creating your product and supplies in selling. So that's packaging, postage supplies, business cards, all those associated things that you use, because really being on top of that will save you missing out. How often you do that will really depend on the volume of sales you have, the volume of inventory you have, and if there's any kind of lead times or production times. So if the longer they are, the more often you may want to be on top of your inventory. And if you're just making things in your studio, your lead time is obviously, or potentially it could be quite short. And don't forget also, when you're looking at inventory, to take note of what you have in stock that you're not currently using. So that might be some stashed fabric from a sale, or yarn, or gemstones, or metals, or whatever it is associated with your product. Can you find ways to use those supplies? Because you don't have to pay for those supplies, you've paid for them already. So there's kind of money just sitting waiting for you to utilize it. The third system is payments, and really keeping on top of this is going to reduce that stress around finance. So making payments to people and scheduling follow-ups. I know scheduling follow-ups to invoices that people owe to you can feel a bit icky, but you've agreed with the person, and just the payment is just one step in that agreement. And if you've delivered the service or product already, you really are entitled to it, and it is just an administrative task on following it up. In terms of making payments, if you are able to pay bills at a later date, rather than doing it ad hoc each time an invoice becomes due or a bill becomes due, my suggestion would be to pick a couple of days in the month where you make payments. So you're just doing it twice, or maybe 3 times depending on the volume, and you just make those payments. So if that's the 15th and the 30th, or the 1st and the 15th, you just pay anything that's due within that next 2 weeks until your next payment. We don't want to get behind in making payments, that's not what I'm suggesting, but we just bring it into a single time period, so we're not doing it and we're not having to remember to make payments all the time. As part of that system, obviously you will need a cash flow management system. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to know what income is coming in. I sell on Etsy or I sell on Shopify, and there's no way of predicting necessarily what income I'm going to have coming in, and my expenses are all paid as I incur them. But I do encourage you to have a look at your cash flow. Are there subscriptions you need to pay? Is there tax obligations you need to pay? Even just understanding what it is you need to pay for supplies, if you're keeping on top of your inventory at a future point in time. So if you're looking and you can see you've got 25 postal tubes left and you're going to then need to buy more postal tubes, you can pop that into your cash flow and see then what those upcoming requirements are. Obviously, the biggest item that you'll need to manage from a cash flow perspective is payments to yourself. And I really recommend making, hopefully, a fixed payment to yourself either once or twice a month, because then you can build up a contingency in the business for when things can tend to be a little bit slower. So over Christmas, when you could be taking a lot of money out of the business, and because you're doing a bigger volume of sales, you maybe just hold that back. So then to cover the leaner times, maybe it's through winter if you're not doing markets, or maybe it's because of economic impacts out there, but there's a little bit of a contingency in your account then to cover off those quieter months. Also, if your dreams are big growth, at some point your business will become a company, because that's the least risky way of running a large business, and then you would become an employee and you kind of would be expected to take a monthly or a fixed fortnightly salary. So remember, good bookkeeping system isn't just what happens in the software. Look at how you can streamline, look at how you can make these processes easier to make your life easier across all the relevant parts of your business finance. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it the thumbs up. You can leave me a comment if you have questions, and you can always reach out for a free virtual coffee with me to discuss your small business's finances, how we can look at your systems, how we can streamline your processes.